Ladies and gentlemen, don't worry about the hair. It is what it is. Just woke up. It's important to get on with Chelsea News Blitz right now.
All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin.
All right, welcome back to the other side of the coin, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, let's get straight stuck into this. First of all, Mateo Kovacic's ankle is swollen and it does not look good at the moment. This is from Adam Newson. Ankle strap. Tuchel says it's not good news for Arsenal. Look, when this happened, I had a feeling that he's probably going to miss around 3 to 4 games. And we're gonna have to live with that. In recent times, when Kovacic has played, obviously Southampton, Real Madrid, and even I guess up until he got injured against Crystal Palace, you could see what he brings to the pitch. But it is what it is. I'm very excited to see how Ruben Loftus-Cheek takes that opportunity, and I guess Kante and Jorginho will have to do the trick, and Saul we'll have to use him every now and then. The fact that we don't use Saul a little bit more, it does bother me a little bit, because I don't think Saul has been that bad in recent times whenever he got used. So we should try and trust a little bit more on him. Look, let's hope Mateo Kovacic comes back quick, because for me, he's our best midfielder. But what Ruben Loftus-Cheek has been doing in recent times has been quite devastating. If you can just build on that, it's pretty much what Kovacic does in terms of driving with the ball. But yes, the passing sense, the vision, Kovacic is the man in midfield. So hopefully he recovers very, very soon. Ladies and gentlemen, this is very, very important, what I'm about to talk to you guys about, this particular news from David Ornstein. 2 of Chelsea's shortlisted bidders are keen to talk to Paul Mitchell over a technical director role at Chelsea. Now, some of you guys might not know who Paul Mitchell is. I didn't know completely his background. Bottom line, Chelsea's looking for a technical director or sporting director, whatever the case is. Director of football, basically. The guy who sits with the manager, understands what the manager's philosophy is, and understands what the club's vision is long-term. Not 1 year, 2 year, probably in the next 10 years, how the club wants to play their football. And then the man goes and searches for right personnel, right players to fit that particular scenario. Not necessarily always going for the highest valued player, but looking for very smart options as well, using data analytics to fit the particular philosophy, basically. So it's not always that the managers, for example, Thomas Tuchel, he knows how he wants to play football. He may have some ideas in his head that he wants X, Y, Z players, but it may not necessarily always work out. At the end of the day, the managers, they're there to manage the team, coach the team, work out game plans, not necessarily be excellent when it comes to scouting. Not saying that Thomas Tuchel doesn't have an eye for talented players, but you have specialized individuals to do that. And Paul Mitchell is one of them. Now, a little bit of background, and we're going to look at a particular tweet as to which players Paul Mitchell has got in his tenure. One of the things that I want to point out, I was watching Mark Goldbridge recently, and they're very, very certain Paul Mitchell is probably going to go to Man United, because he's apparently a Man United man. His background is from Man United. He lives there, or his childhood or his base or originality is from Manchester United. And on top of that, he's worked with Ralf Rangnick before, and Ralf Rangnick is very keen on bringing this man on. If there is any offer from Man United, they believe he's going to take this up. Now, let's look at what he's done. Players Mitchell has helped recruit, recommend. Shout out to CFC Central, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you check out CFC Central. As you can see, the Twitter handle there at CFC Central 3. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. Players Mitchell has helped recruit, recommended: Manchester United, Alan Smith; Southampton, Nathaniel Klein; Maya Yoshida, Paolo Gazzaniga; Steve Davis, Spurs; Toby Alderweireld, Dele Alli; Son Heung-min, Kieran Trippier; Leipzig, Matthias Cunha; Nordi Mukiel, Emil Smith-Rowe on loan. I mean, there's some decent players here. There really are some decent players. If you look at Spurs, Toby Alderweireld, even Dele Alli in early days did work out. Obviously, now he's fizzled off. Son, huge player. Kieran Trippier, also a very, very good player. Leipzig, Matthias Cunha is a very, very good player. I don't think he plays for Leipzig anymore. And Southampton, back in those days, Nathaniel Klein was a very, very, effective player. And it goes on to say, and this is the article, by the way, from David Ornstein, if you guys are keen about it. Also worth noting, he's currently sporting director in Monaco. Make of that what you will. So that makes you closer to Tchouaméni, I suppose. And if you're closer to Tchouaméni, maybe you could have some say around Koundé as well. But I think I'm more interested about the whole Tchouaméni situation. I think he would be an extremely unbelievable acquisition in midfield for us. Also, price has to be a bit of a matter as well. But he's at the moment sporting director at Monaco. And Tchouaméni's over there. Found a lot more. Sadio Mane, Dejan Lovren at Southampton. There you go. Sadio Mane, ladies and gentlemen. Clinton NG, Vincent Janssen at Spurs, Amadou Haidara, Christoph Nkunku, Danny Olmo, Angelino, Patrick Schick for Leipzig. He's done a madness for Leipzig, as you can see. Myron Baudou and Vederion for Monaco. Look, bottom line, I think he would be a really good acquisition. Obviously, the Liverpool particular person, I think his name is Michael Edwards. He's in the market as well. He would be a top 1 too, unless, I don't know whether he's going to PSG or some other clubs touting for his services. But it's great to see that the new owners are interested about a director of football. One of Todd Bowley's bid members, Barbara Sharon, told Telegraph Sport that she would like to see Gallagher get a chance at Chelsea next season. Thomas Tuchel wants to give him that chance to compete for a spot. This is from Matt Law, Telly Football. Look, he's going to get an opportunity, no doubt. Come the preseason, he's going to get an opportunity, and I think he's going to put his hand up for one of the spots in midfield. Whether he starts, I don't think that is going to be, written in stones, but I think he'll be a very good squad member and he'll get enough game time. And I think it's something to think about down the track for next season. If a player like Conor Gallagher comes in, you wouldn't start needing to think about playing in a four-man midfield. Three-man midfield, with the deepest midfielder, and then you've got the eights. Because Conor Gallagher, for me, I don't think he's a 6. Yes, he could be a double pivot player as a box-to-box, one of the double pivot, the other one staying as a bit more reserve. But I think in a midfield 3, he would absolutely, devastate. You have one side, you have Gallagher. The other side, you may have Ruben Loftus-Cheek. You could even have Mount and Gallagher. It's very difficult because they're both similar. But then if you have a deep-lying sort of register who is in the likes of Tchouaméni or many other players that can fill that particular mold, then you could probably have Gallagher and Mason Mount together. But I think he's an 8, and if we are thinking about giving minutes or thinking about having him in our plans, we will probably think about changing our game style, our formation, how we attack, so on and so forth. Tuchel had been concerned that Loftus-Cheek had not made a bigger impact at Fulham, but has been impressed with recent performances. Chelsea's old boss Maurizio Sarri has been linked with a move for Loftus-Cheek, but it's described as unlikely. I think, once again, kudos to Thomas Tuchel. Massive kudos to Thomas Tuchel. Another player that he's able to find what works for this guy and able to find a way to resurrect his career. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, for the past 3 games on that right side of midfield, hybrid role, sometimes a bit wider. I wouldn't say he's a wing back, but more as a right center midfield. He's been playing that kind of role and being box to box. Defensively, he understands what needs to be done. Offensively, he understands. Scored a vital goal against Crystal Palace in the FA Cup semi-final. We're starting to see the fruits. And if this continues, another tick mark for Thomas Tuchel to get something right from a player that was on the fringe. And I love the fact, and we're probably going to do a separate video on Ruben Loftus-Cheek very, very soon. I love his desire and his passion and his mentality to stick it out with all the adversities Ruben Loftus-Cheek has gone through. The fact that he is so keen to make it at Chelsea Football Club, I love it. I really, really do. And I hope he continues in this manner. Whilst Lukaku remains in touch with his old Inter teammates, his focus is on turning things around at Chelsea. The Athletic understands that Samaka is Inter's next striker target. Rafa Leao is mentioned if Mbappe leaves PSG. Rafa Leao, ladies and gentlemen, Ryan, who you guys all know, does tactical analysis, also some form of punditry as well. He loves Rafa Leao, so we may do a video soon. He's doing the BLITZ in AC Milan, and he tends to think it's a player that we should be looking into. But looks like he's touted to go to PSG if Mbappe leaves there. I mean, he's linked over there. A little bit about Lukaku, ladies and gentlemen. As I've always said, I don't think this guy is a bad player. I really don't think he's a bad player. I think he's got the quality, but what he lacks at the moment is the attitude, and the confidence is obviously low. And this is why I say, if you compare him with Timo Werner always had the attitude of a good player, bar that little incidents that he had in Germany where he said, "Oh, I'm more suited in German football," but it is what it is. Perhaps he didn't say anything wrong. It was more the fact that, my man, you haven't had the greatest season. Just staying quiet is the best medicine sometimes. But with Lukaku, ladies and gentlemen, it's the attitude. If he just can somehow get rid of, as a fan base, we couldn't care less about that infamous interview anymore. But I think it has affected him. He's a very egotistic player. He thinks he needs to be spoken in the likes of Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. He thinks he belongs in that sort of caliber. And if he can just humble himself and get back into working hard and do a lot more in game, I think he'll eventually start putting away those goals, because we've seen his performance against Arsenal earlier this season, that debut. But that was a blockbuster performance. That was a bullying performance. Do you know what I mean? We've seen his performances against Aston Villa as well, clinical. He's got that in his locker. He does. It's just somehow he needs to snap out of that attitude issue. If he can't snap out of that attitude issue, I think he needs to leave. It's as simple as that. If he needs to have a new setting, new environment, so be it. Todd Bowley and Josh Harris also in the running to buy Denver Broncos. Now, some parts of the Chelsea fan base are a bit worried about this, or a bit concerned, or a bit annoyed about this. I want to hear what you guys have to say, ladies and gentlemen. For me, I never expected Todd Bowley and his consortium, or even Josh Harris and his consortium with Sir Martin Broughton, to only concentrate on Chelsea Football Club. I mean, at the end of the day, these guys are business people. They will have several businesses and several interests elsewhere, so on and so forth. As long as they do what is right for Chelsea Football Club, that's all I care. Even Roman Abramovich, he didn't just worry about Chelsea. I know he didn't have other teams, but he had other businesses. He had other things to worry about as well. So no business person as successful as these guys only have one thing to work on. They've got multiple things that work on. So for me, it is what it is. Now, you may be thinking, the money is not going to be spent. They may spend money with Denver Broncos and so on and so forth. Look, that's something we'll see. We'll see what happens. This is what I mean. You can have as many business interests or as many businesses as you want. As long as you do the right thing with Chelsea Football Club, I'm happy days. I'm happy days. I'm not asking for billions and billions of money to be splashed for Chelsea. Do the right thing. Be smart. Have a right organization, have a set of plans to be successful, and follow that. And if it needs to be tweaked, then tweak that. And then what you do outside of that, that's your choice, my man. I'm not utterly concerned about that. But let me know how you feel. We hope that Steven Peluca will be able to take Chelsea. We would have enormous advantages. Atalanta CEO Luca Percassi. Tuttosport explained it could create an axis of collaboration that Atalanta would be very precious. Look, Atalanta are probably very excited about Cobham, and I suppose vice versa. Cobham players could go to Atalanta, which is a top club, and get the opportunity in terms of getting minutes over there. Loans will be off the charts for some of our players. But once again, I say, how can this actually happen, ladies and gentlemen? I want to ask you this. How can this actually happen? It's a conflict of interest. If Chelsea play Atalanta in the Champions League, which is a very, very, possible scenario, questions need to be asked. Well, how's an owner, 54% owner, Steven Peluca, can still be an owner of Chelsea Football Club and have same interest? I mean, Who decides how much money you're spending at Chelsea or Atalanta? I mean, who's going to figure out, is it being fair? There is a massive conflict of interest. And what happens when two teams meet each other in Champions League? You know, are Atalanta fans going to say, "Oh, you're spending a lot of money at Chelsea"? Well, obviously, I mean, I don't know if that falls into that fit and proper test for a new owner. Like, I don't understand how this is actually going to happen. A particular owner owning two football clubs that could possibly meet each other. It's just, I don't know how that's actually going to happen. The new owners will want to keep Chelsea competitive at the highest level, so they are expected to still provide funds in the transfer market. I mean, this is a no-brainer, to be honest. At the end of the day, it is in their prerogative to make sure that they still keep Chelsea as competitive. You see what Chelsea are capable of doing. Under Thomas Tuchel, we've been making finals after finals after finals, like it's just a piece of cake. But new owners, they've got a good platform. They've got a club that is a global brand, and keeping it successful will only mean you're going to make it sustainable, and you're actually going to make some return on your investment. So it is on your own prerogative to make sure that you keep investing on it and making sure at the same time, you make smart investments. And yeah, I'm not going to shy away. Obviously, you want to make some money. 100%, this is a business. You want to make some money. But that's the way to ensure success. You have to always keep putting money to make money. It's as simple as that. The new owners at Chelsea may be reluctant to offer Jorginho and N'Golo Kante the terms they want to extend their contracts. The club may also see this as an opportunity to make some money on two players in their 30s. Now, look, we probably need to do a separate video on this as well very, very soon. I've said it previously that I think it's probably right time to let go of Jorginho. As good as Jorginho looked in the second half, and I think Jorginho is a kind of player, ladies and gentlemen, he's got a lot of limitation, a lot of flaws, but if played in the right way, he can look really good. And what I mean by played in the right way is that second half against Crystal Palace. Deepest midfielder with 2 8s, much like that Sarri situation, which opened him up with a lot of space. You play him in a pivot, sometimes it can get a bit suffocated if the opposition outnumbers you in the pivot. Check out Ryan's latest thread, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you go to Ryan's Twitter page and you'll see that. This is what happened against Crystal Palace. He got suffocated in the first half because numerically, Crystal Palace had more midfielders than us because we only had the double pivot. And even though Mason Mount was coming in, that wasn't making the difference because they were cutting out Mason. But in the second half, when we properly deployed Mason and Ruben Loftus-Cheek as the 8, Mason being on the left side, Ruben Loftus-Cheek being on the right side, it opened up a lot of space for Jorginho. And the fact that even Reece James was bit closer to Jorginho in midfield, it just gave us a more numerical advantage. So when you use Jorginho properly, yes, you can have a good scenario, but he has flaws. You always have to make sure you cater the situation for Jorginho. And I'm not sure if we always should be doing that. We should look for other midfielders that has the capability of Jorginho, but at the same time, limited flaws. And there are players like that. Don't kid yourself. If you think if you're one of those fans that think, there are no one out there like that, there is. Believe me, this is where you need scouts, right? Julian Weigl is one of them in Benfica. Please watch his match. Tchouaméni is another one, big one. They're out there who can do his job. Plus, they can cover for the rest of the flaws that he has. Kante, however, ladies and gentlemen, I think there's value in keeping Kante. I know a lot of people have been talking about Kante hasn't been good in recent times. Yeah, I'm not denying that. But I think there is value in keeping Kante, even if it's just one match a week. We don't necessarily need to play him week in, week after, 3 games per week, 2 games per week. 1 game a week, I will keep Kante for at least another couple of years. If he's okay to agree on those terms. If Kante wants another 3 years or 4 years in his contract, well, maybe that's not possible. But if we can keep him for another year, or 2 years minimum, why not? There is value in having N'Golo Kante. The guy, very good box-to-box midfielder, still devastating without the ball in terms of tracking down players, winning the ball back, duels. there's value in having Kante. He's just gone through a bit of a patch that, is not the greatest. Now, a lot of people may say, okay, that's a patch that he's been going through for a little while now. Look, for me, I think there's value in keeping N'Golo Kante. But each to their own, I suppose. Let me know your thoughts. Ruben Loftus-Cheek has no desire to leave Chelsea this summer. I love to see that. Look, I want to see how Ruben Loftus-Cheek, ladies and gentlemen, finishes off this season, and need him to finish off the season strongly for him to actually put his hand up and say, look, he needs to be considered. Because throughout this season, predominantly bar the 3 games that he's played recently, we've all said that he needs to move on, right? We've all said that. Let's not beat around the bushes in regards to that. So we want to see how he finishes this season off, score goals, assists, defensively he's got to look solid. Similarly with Timo Werner as well. I'm not jumping the gun yet. I love what I'm seeing for the past 3 games. He's been borderline man of the match on every single one of those last 3 games. And I think he was man of the match yesterday against Crystal Palace. I want to see how these players play till the end of the season for me to make a judgment. And I think Christian Pulisic probably falls into that category as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what your thoughts are with all the different things we've talked about. Don't worry about my hair. That's not something I want to get your comments on. If you want to comment on it as well, please put it down. If you've enjoyed this video, smash the like button. If you're here for the first time, subscribe and hit the bell notification to stay in touch with all my content. The content's going to come flying to you guys left, right, and center, with so many football coming up. And let me know with all the different topics we've talked about in the comment sections, your views on it. I would love to hear it. Until next time, see you.